A frustrated cry of "damn it" echoes from an apartment under the night sky. Inside, Shu furiously clicks his controller, completely absorbed in the video game before him. Morishita Shu is shocked, wondering why such a powerful monster appeared in this area. He was just one step away from finishing his material gathering quest before being defeated. He laments that the rare material he needed didn't even drop from the monster. Suddenly, a notification appears on the screen, reflected in the lenses of his glasses. An earth-shattering, window-rattling cry of pure joy erupts from his apartment building. Fleeting memories of a cheerful young girl and a kind woman flash through his mind. The world warps around him, and he is suddenly thrown completely off balance. He finds himself tumbling through an abstract void, wondering where on earth he is. He lands, clutching his head, trying to piece together the impossible sequence of events. A calm voice greets him, and Shu turns, startled by the radiant divine figure. He stammers, asking who this person is, a horrifying thought dawning in his mind. The figure smiles, explaining they will speak in a way he can easily understand. They introduce themselves as God, a version from another world not his own. Shu clenches his fist, asking if this means he has truly died. The confirmation of his death causes his composure to completely shatter in an instant. He screams that it's a lie, unable to accept his sudden, untimely end. His greatest regret is not finishing his material collections in all his beloved games. God listens with an amused expression, remarking on his deep love for collecting. Shu reflects on his lifelong passion, starting from his earliest childhood memories. Even as an adult, his obsession continued, ignoring storylines for the thrill of gathering. He remembers grinding for rare items like the fabled Lotus Berry from Rhodobagus Island. His eyes sparkle with joy just thinking about the lore behind these digital treasures. He loved imagining how these fantastical items were used in their game worlds. He scratches his head, wondering why he loves collecting so much. God makes a tempting offer: reincarnate and gather materials to his heart's content. Shu is left utterly speechless and confused by the sudden, incredible proposition. He asks what God means, and the deity begins to explain the situation. God points a finger, stating they summoned him to be transferred to another world. Shu is stunned by the revelation, the reality of the situation finally sinking in. He recognizes this as the trendy reincarnation trope, much to the deity's slight annoyance. God explains they sometimes miscalculate when sending magic, disrupting a world's delicate balance. Pointing at Shu, the deity declares that this is where he comes in. His body will be used as a medium to slowly channel magic into the world. God reassures him that his new body will be durable and suffer no ill effects. Shu remains silent for a moment, processing the incredible information he has been given. He finally asks the most important question: why was he the one chosen? The deity's eyes crinkle into a gentle, knowing smile as they begin to explain. His soul was crackling with energy from his passion, making Shu apologize for it. God leans in conspiratorially, offering him a piece of valuable insider information. This new world is overflowing with the charming, rare materials he loves to collect. The offer is almost too good to be true, a second chance at his passion. While he feels a flicker of unease, the opportunity is too tempting to ignore. He decides to bet his new life on his greatest passion, material gathering. He looks up, his mind made up, and tells God that he understands. With newfound determination, he formally requests to be transferred to the other world. God smiles, pleased with his decision, and thanks him for his cooperation. The deity wishes him well on his future endeavors of material gathering. The transition begins, his consciousness fading from the ethereal void. He wonders if it was all a dream, but knows he was really transferred. He has been sent to a new world, a place filled with endless possibilities. With a sharp gasp, he awakens under a tree next to a babbling stream. He crawls to the water's edge, coughing, deciding to drink to calm himself. He catches his reflection in the water and is shocked by what he sees. He looks much younger, like a teenager, and is wearing unfamiliar, practical clothes. He figures his youthful appearance is part of the durable body package from God. He realizes God's thoughtfulness in placing him near a vital water source. The reality sinks in. He has truly arrived in another world. A genuine, heartfelt smile spreads across his face as he takes it all in. With a surge of excitement and purpose, he clenches his fist, ready to begin. He proclaims the start of his new life of material gathering in another world. However, his initial burst of enthusiasm is met with a practical problem. Standing in a vast open meadow, he has no idea where to go. He decides his first priority is to secure a source of fresh water. He hesitates by the stream, wondering if the water is safe to drink. He worries it might need to be boiled or purified. Then something strange happens. A box of text appears in his mind, identifying the water as safe to drink. He recalls God mentioning they would grant him a special ability to help him survive. In a flashback, God explains they will grant him a power for this new world. The deity had asked if he had any wishes for a special ability. Shu had asked what kind of world he was being sent to. God explained it was similar to the games he played until he died. A dangerous fantasy world with magic, monsters, and countless charming materials. The thought of new materials made him blush with excitement. He processed the information, a world of swords and sorcery, a true fantasy realm. He worried about his ability to survive as a simple salaryman with no combat skills. God, sensing his concern, offered to grant him a power to help him. He requested the power to enjoy a slow life of gathering materials peacefully. He wanted to avoid a game over, asking for a way to sense danger. God understood his request for a relaxed life of material gathering. They agreed to give him enough power so that he wouldn't die immediately. God had called his wish humble but greedy and a bit luxurious. He realizes this must be the ability God granted him, his own unique skill. Trusting the divine information, he takes a deep drink from the river. The water is crisp, clean, and unbelievably delicious, a shock to his system. He marvels at the taste, wondering what he'd been drinking his whole life. He decides he needs a way to carry this amazing water with him. He remembers his bag, hoping God packed a water skin or something similar inside. He reaches into the small leather pouch at his hip, feeling for its contents. He is shocked by the bag's depth, realizing it's filled with many items. He lays out the impossible haul: tools, food, money, a sword, and more. He grins, realizing the small pouch clearly holds more than its volume should allow. He decides to read the sealed letter from God to understand his new gear. The letter explains the magic bag has compressed space where time has stopped. He continues reading, wondering what other amazing abilities he has been given. He learns he has two skills: appraisal for information and survey for locating materials. He realizes it was his appraisal skill that told him the river water was safe. Excited, he decides to test out his unique survey skill immediately. He visualizes waves of magic spreading out, like ripples on the water's surface. Shu took a deep, centering breath, preparing to use his newfound power. He stood alone in the vast open field, ready to begin his survey. The wind whispered through the tall blades of grass around him. Below the surface of the stream, fish swam in the clear, cool water. A single, perfect drop of dew clung to the tip of a leaf. The world held its breath as the droplet fell, a moment of pure focus. His eyes snapped open as he unleashed his power with a single word: survey. He gasped in amazement at the sight before him, wondering what this was. A nearby mushroom glowed with a soft, ethereal light, a hidden treasure. A root peeking from the earth also shimmered with a mysterious energy. The entire landscape was now dotted with dozens of these shimmering lights. He was stunned, asking himself if all of these were really materials. A wide, greedy grin spread across his face, the joy of a true collector. He decided to investigate the nearest point of light and immediately ran towards it. He approached the location, seeing a strange, fluffy flower in the grass. He wondered if this pretty flower could possibly be useful for anything. He realized this was the perfect time to use his other skill: appraisal. A text box appeared in his mind, identifying the plant as an azami thistle. He was amazed that it was a medicinal herb and that he knew how to harvest it. The appraisal even showed him the exact spot on the root to pull from. A profound, happy smile lit up his face as he felt a deep connection. He was thrilled that he could finally gather materials with his own hands. He lovingly hugged the jar, declaring the azami thistle his first official find. As he admired his prize, a thought suddenly crossed his mind. He remembered God calling his wish for a slow, simple life, a bold one. He realized his two skills were a cheat-level convenience for gathering. He carefully sealed the jar, resolving to be humble and not take foolish risks. With his bag adjusted, he felt ready to move on to his next objective. He recalled the river should lead to Fairmill Village, his logical destination. He took a single step towards the village, then suddenly stopped in his tracks. A mischievous grin spread across his face as he thought, but before that, he ran off, shouting that he couldn't possibly leave all those materials behind. Sometime later, he was panting heavily under the shade of the trees. He was completely out of breath from his frantic, excited gathering spree. He collapsed, surrounded by his haul, admitting he had gotten carried away. He marveled at his magic bag, which held everything without gaining any weight. He thought critically, realizing his current method was too unfocused. The sheer number of lights was dazzling, making it hard to concentrate. He wished he could narrow down his search to more specific targets. He decided to try and refine his search, testing his skills' limits. He focused his intent, searching specifically for the material Wagner's fang. It worked perfectly. He was delighted at how easy the targeted search was. He saw the targets were nearby and felt it would be a waste not to get them. As he watched the signals, he noticed something strange about their behavior. He saw the lights were moving slightly and wondered what it could mean. He realized the source of the signals was just beyond the tall grass. His eyes shot open in sudden dawning horror as he understood. He quickly activated his appraisal skill in a desperate panic. A small portrait appeared in his mind, identifying the creature as a Wagner. He peeked over the grass, seeing the monster's pointed ears in the distance. He immediately ducked back down, his heart pounding in his chest. He was shaken but relieved, realizing his survey had detected a living monster. He understood that he could now avoid monsters by staying away from moving lights. He clenched his fist, thanking God for such a versatile and useful skill. He decided it was really time to head for the village before night fell. But as he stood, a brilliant flash of light in the distance caught his eye. He was startled by the sudden appearance of a bright, golden light. He wondered if the distant beacon of light could also be a material. He debated with himself, knowing it was getting late and he should go. His collector's instinct won, and he ran off, promising this was the last one. He recalled the other lights were blue and purple, curious about the color difference. In the distance, the golden light pulsed with an intense, captivating energy. He got closer, his expression one of focused anticipation and excitement. He pushed himself onward, telling himself he was almost there. He arrived to find a large, smooth, luminous object resting in a clearing. He swallowed hard, his eyes wide with wonder at the beautiful item. He reached out with trembling hands, whispering how beautiful it was. Picking it up, he was surprised by how light and sparkly it felt. He held it up to the light, noting that it shimmered like a mirror. With his heart pounding, he activated his appraisal skill. The information appeared. It was a legendary scale of a red dragon. He reeled back in shock, shouting for the world to wait a moment. He imagined a fearsome dragon, knowing such items are always heavily guarded. In a panic, he immediately used his survey skill to search for another scale. The forest remained completely silent, with no other signals appearing. He let out a long, shaky sigh of relief, wiping sweat from his brow. He concluded it must have been a special first-day login bonus from God. He thought for a moment, putting the pieces of his discovery together. He theorized that the light's color must indicate the material's rarity. He sat on the grass, holding the incredible dragon scale in his hands. A wide, joyful smile spread across his face as he admired his new treasure. He got to his feet, feeling satisfied and finally ready to head to the village. He saw the walled town of Firmal in the distance, excited to finally arrive. His face was alight with pure wonder as he got closer to civilization. He arrived at the main gate, announcing that he had finally made it. He paused, his heart pounding at the thought of his first human interaction. He took a determined step forward, wondering what kind of encounter awaited him. He was immediately met by a stern-looking guard holding a spear. Shu stammered nervously, asking if this was indeed Firmal village. The guard confirmed it, eyeing him with deep and obvious suspicion. He gruffly demanded to know what business Shu had in such a rural place. Shu cleared his throat, composing himself to give a friendly introduction. He said his name was Saishu Shu, a traveler gathering materials and seeking lodging. The guard's expression immediately softened, relieved to meet a specialized adventurer. He laughed, explaining the forest was full of monsters, hence his caution. The friendly guard introduced himself as Loran of the village's self-defense force. He apologized for his hostility, saying they rarely get visitors in the village. Shu was flushed with relief as Loran offered him a welcoming handshake. He gratefully shook the guard's hand, thanking him for his kindness. As they walked, Loran remarked on what a strange and unusual name Shu had. Loran looks at Shu with curiosity, asking about his family name. Shu panics internally, realizing only nobles have family names in this world. Loran raises an eyebrow, directly asking Shu if he is a nobleman. Shu laughs nervously, claiming his name simply means gathering, which amuses Loran. Loran waves it off, saying Shu must be tired after his journey. He points down the village street, directing Shu to the large inn. With a broad smile, Loran officially welcomes him to Firmal village. Shu's face lights up with pure gratitude as he thanks the friendly guard. He walks happily through the village, taking in the charming scenery. He passes several quaint, timber-framed houses where children are playing. The small group of children stops their game to stare at the newcomer. Shu offers them a small, friendly wave as he walks by. The children shyly wave back from a distance. A closer view shows the children waving with bright, cheerful faces. Shu smiles to himself, feeling a sense of peace and relief. He thinks that Firmal seems to be a very nice village. He soon arrives at the inn, looking up at its simple sign. He recognizes it as his destination, marveling that he can read the script. He feels a sense of security, thankful for God's divine support. Stepping inside, he calls out a polite hello into the empty room. He wonders if anyone is around, just as a small voice speaks up. Shu is startled, turning quickly towards the unexpected sound behind him. A young girl with freckles and braids asks if he is a customer. Her eyes widen with excitement as she realizes they have a guest. She turns and shouts for her mother, announcing a customer has arrived. A woman's voice replies from upstairs, saying she's on her way down. A kind-faced woman with freckles appears, her expression warm and welcoming. She notes his unfamiliar face and correctly guesses he is a traveler. Shu confirms that he has only just arrived in the village. He gives a bright smile and introduces himself as Shu. The woman introduces herself as Anna, the innkeeper, and her daughter Nico. Shu greets Nico by name, and she shyly says her own name back. Standing at the front desk, Shu asks if there is a room available. Anna assures him there is, explaining that guests are quite rare. She happily explains the rate is 4 copper coins for a night's stay. Shu worries, wondering if he has enough cash on hand for a room. He repeats the price, his expression showing his financial uncertainty. A bead of sweat forms as he frets over his lack of money. He nervously gets Anna's attention to explain his predicament. He admits he's from far away and doesn't understand the local currency. Anna kindly explains the coin values, from copper all the way to platinum. Relieved, Shu happily books a room with meals for the next 10 days. Anna asks Nico to show their new guest to his room. As they walk upstairs, Nico proudly boasts about the inn's spaciousness. Shu is overjoyed to discover that the rustic inn has a proper bath. Anna adds that he can use it for just 1 copper coin. Nico stands proudly at the door, announcing that this is his room. Shu is amazed by the clean, spacious, and well-furnished chamber. He exclaims that the lovely room is almost too much for one person. Nico puffs her chest out with pride, asking if he needs anything else. Shu remembers his haul and asks where he might be able to sell materials. Nico thoughtfully suggests a place owned by a man named Botan. Shu eagerly asks if she can guide him there, and she readily agrees. She tells him to call her after he's rested, and he thanks her. As she closes the door, Nico pauses with one last, important request. She earnestly insists that he must absolutely promise to call for her. Shu laughs warmly, promising that he will definitely ask for Nico's help. He lies down on the bed, relaxing after his long day's journey. He smiles, happy that the first people he met were so kind. The camera pans over the peaceful rooftops of Firmal Village. After resting, Shu sits on his bed and sorts through his gathered herbs. He decides to sell the materials that are used for making equipment first. His eyes land on the beautiful, sparkling dragon scale he found. He hugs it tightly, deciding to keep the precious treasure for himself. The scene transitions with a light, dotted background. Shu finds Nico in the hallway, diligently mopping the wooden floor. He approaches her, asking if she's busy and ready to guide him. Startled, Nico drops her mop and insists she's not busy at all. Anna overhears and reminds her daughter not to break her promise to a guest. With a smile, Anna tells Nico it's all right for her to go. Anna muses about whether Nico is just avoiding her chores. She then decides that helping a guest is also a fine way to help. Shu chuckles softly at the heartwarming family dynamic. Anna adds that she is also curious about what Shu has found. She expresses hope that he has something interesting for her husband. She tells him not to worry even if her husband isn't interested. The scene shifts, showing the exterior of a quaint village shop. Nico proudly points out Botan's general store, the go-to place for tools. Shu steps inside, announcing his arrival with a hello. His eyes widen, sparkling with wonder at the sight before him. The shop is packed from floor to ceiling with all manner of goods. Amazing, Shu breathes, completely captivated by the collection. He sees familiar items like bowls and other kitchen utensils. He also spots strange, glowing crystals whose purpose is a mystery. The entire shop is a cluttered treasure trove for a collector like him. He remembers that his starter kit from God lacked any cooking tools. His gaze falls upon a metal device that looks like a portable stove. He instinctively uses his powerful appraisal skill to learn more about it. He's delighted to discover it's a portable cassette-style stove. His stomach growls as he imagines grilling mushrooms, but the price is staggering. He realizes the 1 platinum coin price tag makes it a true luxury item. Just then, the shop door creaks open with a startling noise. A stout man in spectacles enters, apologizing for being out. Nico greets him as Botan, who asks if she is running an errand. She explains she is guiding a guest who wishes to sell materials. Botan recognizes Shu as the new traveler he had heard about. He kindly introduces himself as Botan, the owner of the general store. Shu introduces himself and asks if Botan would look at his materials. Botan eagerly agrees, happy to receive goods from an outsider. Shu places his bag on the counter, ready to begin the transaction. Botan, the shopkeeper, adjusts his glasses, looking intently at Shu's satchel with a thoughtful hum. His eyes widen in sudden, shocking recognition as he identifies the item as a magic bag. A flustered Shu asks how he could possibly know what it was just by looking. Botan confirms, explaining he has only seen one once before, during a trip to a large city. He describes the bag as a legendary artifact, a treasure of illusion, crafted by ancient masters. Awestruck, Botan asks Shu where on earth he managed to acquire such a precious item. Shu panics internally, knowing he can't possibly explain that it was a gift from God. He clutches his chest, feigning a sudden pang of grief as Botan asks what's wrong. With a sorrowful expression, Shu says the bag was a gift from someone no longer of this world. Botan is completely convinced by the tragic story, his expression turning serious and sympathetic. He remarks that for someone so young, Shu must have great resolve to carry such a burden. Apologizing for his tactless question, Botan suggests they finally begin the material appraisal. He inspects the common herbs and mushrooms, declaring them all to be quite useful. He offers 7 bronze and 1 silver for the herbs, and 3 silver coins for the Wagner fangs. Shu realizes that the color of the light from his survey skill must indicate an item's value. He then presents his next treasure, a perfectly preserved snakeskin coiled inside a box. Botan's eyes light up with a craftsman's delight, declaring the white snakeskin to be magnificent. Shu recalls the skin's unique orange glow and hopes for a price of around 8 silver coins. Standing with Nico, Botan prepares to make an offer that will astound them both. In the quiet shop, Botan calmly proposes a price of 4 gold coins for the skin. Shu and Nico's eyes pop out of their heads in a moment of synchronized, cartoonish shock. Shu shouts in disbelief at the high price, while Botan misinterprets his reaction as disappointment. Botan explains that white snake skins are incredibly rare and valuable in their part of the world. Thinking his offer was too low, he frantically raises it to 5, then 6 gold coins. Nico exclaims that she's found snakeskins before, but they were never worth that much. Botan clears his throat, preparing to lecture them on the true value of the material. He explains that the pristine, pure white skin is extremely popular among the nobility. Possessing a bag made from the skin, he emphasizes, is a significant status symbol. He adds that in the capital city, it would sell for an even higher price. Beaming, Shu insists that the original offer was more than enough and happily accepts. A relieved Botan clasps his hands together, gratefully thanking Shu for the transaction. He then appraises the valuable moonflower, offering a respectable 3 silver coins for it. Botan explains that the flower absorbs moonlight, making it a key ingredient in recovery potions. He compliments Shu's skill, calling him a master appraiser for finding such quality items. Shu reflects that he was merely bluffing, but he's finally getting a feel for market prices. Botan mentions once more that in the capital, these items would fetch an even greater price. With a confident smile, Shu decides that he can trust Botan to be an honest merchant. Botan presents a small, heavy pouch of coins on a tray, finalizing their business. Shu happily accepts the payment, calculating his new total at 10 gold and 2 silver coins. He marvels at the incredible profitability of this new world, feeling like he's hit the jackpot. Nico looks up at Shu, amazed that simply gathering materials can make someone so much money. Botan corrects her, explaining that it's not always so lucrative. Shu's skill is exceptional. Shu laughs humbly, thinking to himself that his unique, God-given skills are the real secret. He clutches the coin pouch, realizing he can earn even more if he masters his abilities. As Shu and Nico turn to leave the shop, Botan suddenly calls out to them. Sitting at his desk, Botan explains that he has a favor to ask, one that requires Shu's skills. Shu turns back, surprised by the request, and asks what the shopkeeper needs. Leaning forward with an earnest expression, Botan asks Shu to find a full moonflower for him. Shu and Nico look up, their expressions a mixture of confusion and intrigue at the rare item's name. Shu takes a moment to process the unexpected request, a bead of sweat on his brow. Botan repeats the name Full Moonflower, officially beginning Shu's next challenging quest. Nico instantly puts the pieces together, excitedly asking if it's a present for her mother. Blushing, Botan scratches his head and admits that his wife's birthday is coming up very soon. Overjoyed by the romantic gesture, Nico happily skips out of the room. She imagines the beautiful legendary flower, which is said to grant happiness to its recipient. She explains to Shu that the flower is incredibly rare and very difficult to find. Shu hesitates, weighing his desire to help against the seeming impossibility of the task. Botton's voice suddenly cuts through his thoughts, startling him back to the present. With a friendly smile, Botton reminds Shu of the magic conduction stove he was admiring earlier. He offers to let Shu try it out, holding the strange mechanical device above his head. Demonstrating, Botton explains that you simply place magic stones into the glass chamber at the base. Shu holds one of the beautiful, pebble-like stones, wondering if his appraisal skill will work on it. The skill activates successfully, causing the stones in the box to glitter with a magical light. An information panel explains that magic stones are the crystallized mana found inside monsters. Shu has a revelation. He can use his survey skill on these stones to detect all nearby monsters. Botton snaps him out of his thoughts, apologizing for having gotten him sidetracked. He continues the demonstration, explaining that you just close the lid and turn the knob. With a soft click, a clean and steady flame instantly springs to life from the stove's burner. Shu and Nico stare in wide-eyed amazement at how easily the magical fire was created. Nico remarks how much easier cooking would be if they had such a convenient device at home. Botton leans in, his glasses glinting as he prepares to make his final, irresistible sales pitch. He paints a vivid picture of Shu using the stove to cook fresh mushrooms and fish in the wild. He makes an incredible offer. Find the flour, and he'll sell the stove for a massive discount. Shu's eyes gleam with determination as he accepts the quest, vowing to ensure marital bliss. Botton explains that his wife's birthday is in just 4 days, apologizing for the short notice. Shu bows his head, the immense pressure of the tight deadline suddenly weighing on him. Nico offers a word of encouragement, certain that his skill will lead him to the flower. Shu sighs, admitting that with so few leads, finding it will be incredibly difficult. Nico suggests her father might have seen it, as he used to play in the forest as a child. Instantly re-energized, Shu asks her to introduce him to her father right away. Arriving back at the inn, Nico cheerfully announces that she is home. A handsome man with reddish blonde hair turns and greets his daughter with a warm smile. Shu recognizes the man instantly, his jaw dropping as he exclaims, "Lauren!" Lauren greets Shu, who asks if he's also staying at the inn, to which the guard just laughs. Shu begins to put the pieces together, a look of dawning realization on his face. The connection becomes clear as Nico joyfully leaps into Lauren's arms, calling him Dad. Shu asks in disbelief if Lauren is truly Nico's father, and Lauren confirms that he is. Lauren playfully puts an arm around Shu, teasing him about getting close to his daughter so quickly. Anna's voice calls out from off-panel, telling her husband to stop his foolishness. She appears, asking Lauren to come and help her prepare for the evening meal. As he leaves, Lauren gives Shu a thumbs up, promising him that Anna's cooking is the best. Shu smiles, realizing he won't need a formal introduction and can simply ask Lauren later. As night falls, the stars begin to appear in the sky above the quiet village. Utterly exhausted from his eventful day, Shu collapses face first onto his bed with a soft thud. He lies spread-eagled, reflecting that he somehow managed to survive his first day in the new world. Lying in the dark, he realizes that although his body is tired, he strangely doesn't feel sleepy. He sits up, remembering the book God gave him and deciding it's the perfect time to read. He pulls out the beginner's magic book, thinking that learning magic will be useful for his work. A decorative page from the book reveals its core principle. Magic is the thought and wish of each person. Shu studies a diagram of the 6 magical elements, deciding it's time to try casting his first spell. In his room, Shu decides fire magic is too dangerous to practice indoors. He flips through his grimoire, finding an illustration for a light ball spell. A small smile appears as he thinks it's the perfect spell for reading. He closes his eyes and focuses his will, preparing to cast the spell. He shouts the incantation, "Light ball!" startling Nico, who is tending flowers below. A brilliant explosion of light erupts from the inn's second-story window. Shu's eyes are wide, reflecting the blindingly intense magical light. Outside, Lauren and Anna shield their faces from the sudden, powerful flash. A beam of pure light shoots into the night sky, illuminating the entire village. He screams in agony, clutching his face and yelling that his eyes are burning. The family bursts in, Anna calling his name with a worried expression. Dazed on the floor, he weakly insists he's fine amidst the chaos. He stares at his hand, wondering what is wrong with his magical power. His consciousness begins to fade into a familiar, dark void. He awakens in the ethereal space, seeing a serene figure before him. He jolts upright, recognizing God, who greets him after his first day. He panics, realizing God's appearance must mean something terrible has happened. He shouts dramatically, asking if he somehow died on his very first day. God smiles gently, reassuring him they were just checking in on him. The deity asks how he's finding the new world now that he's settled in. Shu's fear vanishes, replaced by a bright and enthusiastic smile. He gushes excitedly about the abundance of materials and the joy of his new life. God listens with a fond expression, pleased he's enjoying the world so much. He sits cross-legged in the void, feeling he's getting used to these meetings. God asks if he's encountered any problems, and Shu recalls the magical mishap. He explains that he tried a simple spell, but it felt overwhelmingly powerful. He asks if God accidentally gave him some kind of cheat-level strategy guide. God explains a spell's power is proportional to the user's mana reserves. A tiny chibi version of God asks if he would have preferred less power. God chuckles, amused that he is only now questioning his immense strength. Shu looks confused, recalling God promised him a peaceful life of gathering. God admits they thought he'd be greedy, and that his humility is reassuring. He clarifies his idea of a slow life is simply gathering herbs and stones. God is surprised, remembering Shu fought powerful dragons for materials and games. The deity explains that as a medium, he was always destined for immense power. A tiny chibi god complains that Shu didn't complain about being too strong. God reassures him that with practice, he will learn to control his magic. Shu clenches his fist, filled with a new determination to master his abilities. God notes that their time is up and wishes him well on his journey. His eyes shining with gratitude, Shu thanks the deity for their help. He snaps back to reality, collapsing onto his bed in the inn room. A new day begins in the quiet village of Fermil. Shu descends the stairs, cheerfully greeting Anna for the morning. Anna asks if he was all right last night, explaining that she was worried. He apologizes, saying he was so exhausted that he fell asleep instantly. She asks about the flash, and he fibs about finding a strange, glowing material. His stomach rumbles loudly, perfectly interrupting the awkward conversation. Anna laughs warmly, saying he must be hungry, and invites him to eat. Shu's eyes sparkle with delight at the promise of a warm breakfast. He marvels at the feast, asking if it is really okay to have so much. He reflects that it has been years since he had a proper hot breakfast. He clasps his hands in gratitude and prepares to dig in. He eagerly takes a large bite of the thick, savory meat. The delicious flavor spreads through him as he eats with gusto. He praises the soup, noting its vibrant colors and invigorating spices. He asks Anna about the ingredients, and she wonders if he dislikes something. His eyes sparkle as he eagerly asks if he can have a second helping. Anna laughs heartily, agreeing to give him more as a special service. He pats his full stomach, sighing in pure bliss and thanking her for the meal. Lauren returns from patrol, announcing he is home. Anna welcomes him back. Shu greets Lauren, who is surprised to see him up and about. Lauren grabs him, frantically asking if he's okay after the room flashed with light. Shu remembers his plan and says there is something he needs to ask Lauren. They sit at a table as Shu explains Botan's request for a full moonflower. Lauren understands immediately, a knowing and slightly mischievous smile on his face. He admits he's seen something like it before, but cannot recall where. Shu watches intently, thinking he could give Anna a flower if he finds a patch. Lauren says the only thing he remembers is a peculiar glowing sight in the forest. Shu asks if he means a place that was sparkling in the sunlight. He seeks clarification, sunlight shining deep within the forest. Lauren describes a clearing where a single flower shone brightly on a sunny day. Shu pieces the clues together, realizing the flower must grow in a sunny spot. He recalls Nico mentioning the flower bathes in moonlight, confirming his theory. He thanks Lauren profusely, who is surprised he figured it out so quickly. Shu bows, admitting that he has no proof for his theory yet. With a bright smile, he declares he will go search for it immediately. Lauren cheers him on, wishing him the best of luck on his important quest. Shu sets off, confident he can find the forest Lauren described. He knows the information is vague, but it is his only lead. He pauses for a moment, taking in the world around him. The wind rustles his hair, carrying the scent of fresh grass. He closes his eyes, savoring the peacefulness of the new world. He snaps out of it, realizing he cannot get sentimental before entering the woods. He pulls out his grimoire, deciding he must be prepared for anything. He reflects that no advanced VR game could ever replicate this immersive experience. He flips through the book, deciding to learn fire magic for camping. He finds the correct page, which shows an illustration of a small flame. He reminds himself to relax and not use too much force this time. He yells, "Fire!" and is blown back by a massive explosive gout of flame. He panics, yelling that it's hot and could start a dangerous forest fire. He frantically searches for a counterspell, quickly finding one for water. He shouts, "Water!" unleashing a powerful and uncontrolled torrent from his hands. The immense force of the spell sends him flying backward through the air. He lands hard on the ground, completely soaked and sputtering. He realizes that only dedicated practice will help him control his immense power. His dripping coat hangs on a branch as he muses that fluid magic is hard to control. He looks for a more manageable spell he can use at close range. He finds a spell called Freeze and thinks it might be perfect for his needs. He realizes he can use it to non-lethally subdue monsters he encounters. With renewed determination, he prepares to try again, this time with more control. With a determined cry, Shu unleashes the power of his Freeze spell. An explosion of ice erupts from his hands, freezing the meadow solid. He sweats, realizing the effect was far stronger than he had imagined. Still, he thinks it's the perfect spell for practicing his magic control. He decides to practice while searching for the full moon flower. Following Lauren's directions, he arrives at the entrance to the southern forest. He peers into the woods, noting how dim it is even during the day. The path ahead is shrouded in an intimidating, perpetual twilight. He stops, a sudden brilliant idea striking him. Holding a magic stone, he wonders if his survey skill will work on it. He closes his eyes in concentration, offering a silent prayer for success. Survey, he commands, unleashing the full power of his unique skill. His face lights up with pure joy. He can pinpoint every monster's location. He thanks God for creating such an incredibly convenient ability. With this newfound confidence, he feels he can safely enter the forest. He declares that his hunt for the full moon flower has officially begun. He immediately stops himself, trying to resist the lure of other materials. But he collapses in defeat. The temptations are simply too overwhelming. He knows he can't possibly ignore all the valuable items around him. He spots a red cap and a purple cap, mushrooms he's never seen before. He finds a peculiar curled plant he calls mei grass. He is delighted by the satisfying snap it makes when harvested. He marvels at the real, tactile sensation of gathering with his own hands. The fatigue and hunger are real experiences, not just gauges on a screen. His thoughts are interrupted by a loud, rumbling growl from his stomach. Looking up, he sees the sun is high in the sky, signaling that it's noon. He panics, realizing he's gotten sidetracked and achieved nothing for his quest. He sighs, deciding it's time to take a break and eat. On the third morning, a guard at the village gate is woken by a knock. The guard rubs his eyes, wondering who could be calling at this hour. Shu greets him with a bright smile and a cheerful, "Good morning." The guard asks if he's heading back to the southern forest again. Shu confirms, explaining that today is the deadline. He has to find it. Another guard remarks on his dedication, and Shu agrees they both work hard. The first guard offers him a pot of coffee, a gift from Anna. With a wave, Shu calls out that he's off and heads toward the forest. The guard watches him go, commenting on what a diligent person he is. His companion sips the coffee and agrees. They are startled to see Botan standing below, having overheard them. Botan looks toward the forest, murmuring the name of the full moon flower. He recalls his own failed attempts, intimidated by the monsters within. He feels a quiet confidence that Shu will be the one to succeed. As night falls, Shu recalls that the full moon flower glows in the dark. He reasons that it should be much easier to spot now. He knows monsters are more active at night, but feels he has no choice. With the birthday looming, he casts Survey, determined to find the flower. His face is tense with concentration under the immense pressure of the deadline. He is relieved to see his skill can detect monster-like glows in the dark. He decides to proceed cautiously, repeatedly casting his survey skill. He spends hours gathering various materials while keeping an eye out for his target. He looks up at the sky, realizing how much time has passed. He narrowly avoids a nocturnal predator, diving out of its path. The vast, dark forest seems to stretch on forever. He pants with exhaustion, despairing that he still hasn't found the flower. Looking at the setting moon, he fears dawn will come too soon. Suddenly, his eyes widen in shock as he spots something. He breaks into a run, realizing a beam of moonlight is shining nearby. He bursts into a clearing and freezes, confronted by a massive, shadowy bear. His heart hammers in his chest with a jolt of pure terror. The bear lets out a low, guttural growl, its eyes glowing ominously. His hand instinctively moves to the hilt of the sword at his belt. He stumbles back, his mind screaming that he's done for. His first instinct is to turn and flee from the terrifying beast, but he stops himself, realizing that would be a fatal mistake. The bear watches him, seeming to wait for his next move. He forces himself to remain calm and activate his appraisal skill. The skill identifies the monster as a blue grizzly, danger rank B. He's terrified, realizing that running would have triggered its attack instinct. He panics at the B rank threat, though his collector's mind notes its value. The bear snarls, its patience wearing thin. With a deafening roar, the massive beast charges forward to attack. Shu throws his hands up, unleashing a desperate full-power freeze spell. The charging bear is instantly encased in a tomb of jagged, glittering ice. He pants, staring at the frozen result of his overwhelming magic. He floats down gently as the dust settles around the massive ice statue. He looks at the bear's snarling face, frozen forever in a moment of fury. He lands with a triumphant smile, overjoyed that his magic practice paid off. He cautiously taps the thick ice, amazed he froze such a huge creature. Looking up at the frozen beast, he thinks it's even scarier up close. A sudden thought strikes him, and he remembers his true purpose. There, in the single beam of moonlight, the beautiful full moon flower glows. He stands before it, captivated by its ethereal beauty. He reaches out a trembling hand, whispering that this must be it. His appraisal confirms its identity, noting its light is preserved by the root. Holding the flower, he beams with joy, exclaiming he's finally found it. He carefully places the glowing flower into a tall glass jar. He admires his prize, happy to have finally completed his quest. He seals the jar, wanting to preserve its beautiful light in his magic bag. He looks over his shoulder, wondering what to do now. His gaze falls upon the massive, frozen carcass of the blue grizzly. He ponders the dilemma, admitting he has no idea how to butcher a bear. A crazy idea forms. He wonders if the whole thing might fit in his bag. He shoves the massive, ice-encased bear towards the bag's opening. To his shock, the entire thing vanishes inside with a soft pop. He sits on the ground, dumbfounded, exclaiming that it actually went in. He reasons that the bag's rule against living things doesn't apply if it's dead. With a satisfied smile, he decides he must hurry back to the village. He arrives at the inn at dawn, bursting in with a cheerful greeting. He is met by an elegant woman he doesn't recognize, holding a duster. The woman smiles warmly at him, leaving Shu utterly confused. An elegant woman with a warm, knowing smile asks if he is Shu. Shu, caught off guard, stammers a flustered yes in confirmation. Just then, Botan bursts into the room, excitedly calling out Shu's name. He eagerly grabs Shu's hand, thanking him for being up so early. With a cheerful grin, Botan realizes he has forgotten his manners. He proudly introduces the woman as his wife, Scenaria. Shu is stunned by her beauty, stammering that the pleasure is all his. Botan is overjoyed, certain this will make his wife's birthday perfect. With a hopeful sparkle in his eye, he asks Shu his business. Shu's mind flashes to the request, remembering the magic conduction stove. He asks if there's anything else, prompting Botan to invite him upstairs. Scenaria watches them go, a single question mark hanging in the air. Later, the scene shifts to the hallway outside Shu's room. Botan knocks anxiously, asking if he was able to find the full moonflower. Shu opens the door with a calm smile, telling him not to worry. He proudly presents the luminous flower in a jar, saying he found it. Botan's face lights up with pure, unadulterated joy as he gasps. The two of them gesture for silence, keeping the surprise a secret. Holding the jar, Botan marvels that this is truly the full moonflower. He whispers how beautiful it is as Shu looks on, proud of his work. His eyes shining with emotion, he sincerely thanks Shu for everything. He is absolutely certain that Scenaria will be overjoyed with the gift. Shu beams with a wide, genuine smile, saying he was happy to help. The scene transitions to a bright, cloudy sky, marking a new day. Shu reflects that his material gathering has never been useful to anyone before. He decides to hurry back to the inn and share the good news. He knows the family must be worried about his absence. With a cheerful grin, he arrives back at the inn. He is immediately met by Nico, who has her arms crossed in a fierce pout. Shu quickly apologizes, realizing she must have been worried. He explains he was delivering the gift for Scenaria's approaching birthday. Anna gently scolds her daughter for bothering their guest. Nico looks up, still upset after being so concerned for him. Shu suggests they all share the happiness, killing two birds with one stone. Anna declares a celebration, offering to cook anything he desires. Shu asks if the skilled chef would be willing to prepare an ingredient he brought. A wave of dread washes over Anna and Nico as they freeze in place. Shu proudly presents the massive, ice-encased blue grizzly for dinner. Hearing the commotion, Lauren bursts in, demanding to know if Anna is safe. The cry of "a blue grizzly" echoes down the village streets. A woman leans out of her window, shocked by the news of the monster. A couple on the street panics, wondering what a grizzly is doing here. A man urgently tells his companion to go and summon the guards. Amidst the chaos, Shu can only offer a sheepish, apologetic smile. He realizes with a sigh that he's caused another grand mess to explain. A montage shows the next half-month, with Shu happily gathering materials. Bhutan inspects a strange, stalk-like vegetable Shu has brought him. Shu explains that it's a type of vegetable known as gogogi. He adds that it is highly nutritious and can be brewed into a tea. Bhutan consults his book, confirming that Shu is correct about the rare plant. He notes it isn't native to the area, so Shu must have traveled far. He thanks Shu, saying that even the leaves will be a valuable ingredient. Bhutan begins to explain that while he appreciates the hard-to-find items, it has been an enormous help to his business. He gently asks if Shu is beginning to feel unsatisfied in their small village. Shu looks down at his cup, admitting that he was thinking the same thing. He declares that it is about time for him to move on to a new land. Bhutan listens quietly, a look of sad understanding on his face. He admits that a small village cannot hold back someone with Shu's talent. With a kind smile, he says he looks forward to seeing Shu's future. He makes Shu promise to let the entire village see him off on his last day. Shu gratefully thanks Bhutan for his kindness and support. Nico hears the news, asking in shock if Shu is already leaving Fermil. Shu confirms, explaining he saved enough money thanks to Bhutan's help. Nico collapses onto a table, wailing that it will be boring without him. Anna playfully teases her daughter, saying she's clearly grown fond of Shu. She then scolds Nico for not being honest about her feelings. That evening, Lauren asks Shu where he plans to go next. Shu reveals his destination is the largest city in the region. A panoramic view shows the massive fortified city of Grantal. Lauren muses that Grantal seems like the perfect city for Shu. He explains it has an adventurers guild and mountains rich with ore. Shu's eyes light up at the thought of all the new materials to find. He admits that while he is excited, he will be sad to leave Nico. He looks at Lauren, his heart filled with gratitude for the man's kindness. At his final meal, Shu thanks the family for their incredible hospitality. On the day of his departure, the village gate is bustling with people. Shu bows deeply, thanking everyone for their kindness during his short stay. Anna insists they should be the ones thanking him for invigorating the village. A small boy shyly wishes Brother Bear Killer a safe journey. Shu sweat drops, realizing the Bear Killer Shu nickname has officially stuck. He feels a small, insistent tug on the back of his cloak. Turning, he finds Nico hiding shyly behind his leg. With tears welling in her eyes, she begs him to promise he will return. Shu looks down at the little girl with a gentle, reassuring smile. He promises to stay at her inn again, and she demands he swear to it. Lauren suddenly appears, protectively declaring Shu can't have his daughter. Shu is flustered by the sudden and comical display of fatherly concern. Anna chides her husband, teasing that Shu's skills make him a great catch. Shu laughs along with the crowd, thinking it's too soon for such talk. He reflects on how sad he is to leave this wonderful, welcoming village. He suddenly realizes that Bhutan and Sanaria are not in the crowd. A horse's hoof steps into frame as a familiar voice calls out. A horse-drawn carriage pulls up with Bhutan and Sanaria at the reins. They kindly offer to give him a ride part of the way to the city. Bhutan quickly insists that it's no trouble at all for them. He explains they were heading that way anyway to meet a merchant. Shu, overwhelmed by their generosity, gratefully accepts their offer. As the carriage pulls away, Anna shouts one last piece of advice: stay healthy. Waving goodbye, Shu wishes everyone well as he departs from Fermo village. Leaving the comfort of Fermil, Shu journeys toward new materials and companions. A cheerful cat girl, holding a basket of fresh bread, announces their arrival. She gestures toward a large inn, proudly calling it the Cat's Tail Pavilion. With a welcoming smile, she holds the door open for Shu to enter. The inn's entrance is decorated with fine, ornate ironwork, hinting at its quality. The door swings open with a click as she offers to guide him inside. Shu peeks through the doorway, his expression one of initial surprise. His surprise quickly melts into a look of gentle, happy appreciation. The tavern is bustling with a lively and diverse crowd of patrons. The ground floor serves as both the reception area and the main dining hall. Mina, the cat girl, explains that at night the space operates as a pub. Shu thinks to himself that the inn has a wonderfully bright and welcoming atmosphere. He notices the many diligent cat people staff members working around the room. He excitedly realizes it's like a cat inn, a truly delightful discovery. Mina asks if he likes the inn, even though it can be a bit noisy. A senior staff member calls out, telling Mina she's late and needs to help. Mina quickly explains she is with a customer and asks her colleague to wait. Shu observes that, interestingly, not all cat people end their sentences with nya. Mina presents his room, a simple but clean and welcoming personal space. He finds the room cozy and comfortable as Mina finishes the brief tour. Mina's expression turns serious as she explains one final ironclad rule of the inn. Shu is shocked, wondering what this unbreakable rule could possibly be. She strictly forbids him from touching the ears or tails of the working staff. She explains that while humans are often curious, touching them is startling and rude. With a nervous sweat, Shu quickly agrees that he understands the important rule. He admits they look fluffy, but knows that touching a stranger is obviously wrong. He bows deeply, apologizing for having thought of it like a cat cafe. Just as Mina is about to leave, Shu urgently calls out her name. He begs her to tell him just one more crucial piece of information. Mina turns back towards him, a curious and slightly confused look on her face. The answer to his desperate question lies within this grand bathhouse building. Shu soaks in a large steaming bath, feeling completely and utterly revived. He reflects that nothing can replace the pure bliss of a proper hot bath. He observes the grand architecture, realizing it is not a natural hot spring. A small dragon-like creature acts as a magical heater, which he finds convenient. He panics briefly, imagining the disaster his own powerful magic would cause. As he relaxes, he notices a pleasant, herbal aroma filling the air. A man with long silver hair is carefully adding herbs to the water. Shu cheerfully paddles over and asks the man what he's doing. The man explains the innkeeper asked him to prepare a special medicinal bath. It is a special blend meant to heal the fatigue and wounds of adventurers. He adds that he periodically adjusts the mixture as part of his own research. Shu excitedly introduces himself as a new adventurer heading to the guild. He sheepishly admits that he is still a complete amateur, however. The man gives a faint, serene smile, glad that Shu is enjoying the bath. As the pharmacist leaves, Shu respectfully thanks him for his hard work. Fully relaxed, he resolves to rest well and head for the guild tomorrow. He wonders how far his beginner skills and God-given power will take him. The next day, he stands before the massive, imposing Adventurers Guild building. He looks up in absolute awe, completely overwhelmed by its sheer scale. Unlike in a game, the adventurers here do not have visible ranks or levels. A veteran adventurer notes that everyone here looks like a seasoned professional. A large wolf man gruffly tells him to get out of the entranceway. Shu is startled by the sudden and aggressive-sounding admonishment. He steels himself, determined to enter the hall with an air of confidence. He steps inside, his jaw dropping at the incredible scene before him. The guild hall is a chaotic and bustling hive of activity and commerce. Peeking from behind the crowd, he is amazed by the number of people inside. It seems there are a great many people who aspire to become adventurers. The appeal, it seems, is the freedom and flexible working hours the job offers. He groans in dismay, seeing the incredibly long line for the reception desk. Deciding to wait, he chooses to look around the great hall first. He spots a large crowd gathered around a massive bulletin board on the wall. He squeezes through the crowd, lamenting the disadvantages of his shorter stature. He finally gets a clear view of the board, his eyes widening in recognition. It is the quest board, covered in dozens of different request forms. He is impressed by the sheer volume of quests, a sign of the guild's reputation. He thoughtfully scans the board, wondering which quest he should take first. He first notices several monster subjugation quests of varying difficulty levels. He muses that there are many monster quests posted on the board. He recalls encountering the tough horned rabbits during his previous travels. But as a material specialist, he knows that combat quests do not concern him. His eyes then drift over to another, more interesting section of the quest board. He has found it, a section dedicated entirely to material gathering requests. His face erupts in pure joy at all the new, exotic materials listed. He thoughtfully considers the difficulty ranks of the various gathering quests. He notices that many of the gathering quests seem old and unpopular. He confidently declares to himself that he will be the one to clear the board. Reaching the desk, he immediately asks to accept 2 challenging quests. He greets the receptionist, a rabbit woman named Lapis, with a wide, friendly smile. He excitedly explains his deep and abiding passion for material gathering. Lapis, overwhelmed by his energy, frantically asks him to please wait a moment. She takes a moment to catch her breath after his verbal onslaught. She calmly asks if this is his first time registering, and he confirms it is. Composing herself, she prepares to explain the guild's official system to him. She explains the ranking system, from F to S, used for all adventurers. As a newcomer, she informs him that he must begin his career at F rank. She explains that quests are ranked, and he can only take certain ones. This means the C and D rank quests he wanted are currently out of reach. She warns him to choose his quest carefully, as failure incurs a penalty. Shu apologizes sheepishly for his overeager misunderstanding of the rules. Now that he understands, Lapis begins the official registration procedure. She retrieves a special item from a drawer in her desk at the counter. She presents a guild plate and asks him to imbue it with his magic. Shu takes the plate, his expression focused as he prepares for the task. He asks about the plate, and she explains it is used to track quest status. By recognizing his unique magic, the plate will track his entire career. He realizes it works much like the fingerprint authentication in his old world. With great care, he begins to channel his magical energy into the plate. An instant later, a tiny crack appears on the corner of the glass plate. With a sharp crack, the magical guild plate shatters into pieces in Shu's hand. Shu stares in profile, a bead of sweat rolling down his face in stunned silence. The receptionist Lapis is equally shocked, her hands flying to her mouth in disbelief. Shu stammers, asking what happened, as Lapis profusely apologizes for the broken plate. She worries aloud, wondering if he'll have to pay for the expensive magic stone plate. Shu quickly covers for himself, suggesting the plate might have just been old and worn. Internally, he chides himself for his mistake, vowing to better control his magic. Lapis returns with a new plate, asking him to please try the registration again. A memory of God's advice echoes in his mind. With practice, controlling his power is possible. Shu focuses intently on the new plate, determined to succeed this second time. He visualizes his immense power as a tiny, delicate thread entering the glass. A soft, steady light emanates from the plate as it successfully registers his magic. Lapis is overjoyed, clapping her hands together and exclaiming that it's okay this time. Relieved, Shu learns from Lapis that his registration with the Adventurers Guild is complete. Lapis then asks if he is finished for the day or if he has other plans. His eyes wide with excitement, Shu immediately asks if he can accept a quest now. A close-up shows his mouth set in a determined, eager smile. He enthusiastically asks her to set him up, his sheer energy surprising the receptionist. Lapis thinks to herself that she's never seen anyone so excited to get to work. She smiles, realizing that this newcomer truly has a deep passion for gathering materials. "Understood," she says professionally, then asks which quest he would like to take. Shu cheerfully points to two, the Azami Thistle and the Luminous Moss, startling Lapis. She quickly stops him, pointing out that the Luminous Moss quest is difficulty E, above his F rank. Confused, Shu asks for clarification, as he thought he could take quests one rank higher. Lapis explains that rule is only for proven adventurers, not for a brand new registrant. Shu thinks back to the broken plate, deciding not to cause any more trouble for her. He nods seriously, agreeing that it's best to be cautious and start with a suitable quest. Relieved by his understanding, Lapis beams and offers to recommend some perfect beginner quests. She suggests gathering alkinko, crescenza honey, or mint leaves as excellent starting points. Shu strokes his chin thoughtfully, saying he understands her recommendations. Then with a brilliant smile, he holds up 3 fingers and declares he'll do all 3. "All of them!" Lapis shrieks, her professional composure completely shattered by his audacity. As other adventurers look on, she warns him about failure penalties and strict deadlines. Shu gives her a confident thumbs up, insisting it's fine because he loves gathering so much. Lapis sighs in resignation, muttering that she gives up before preparing the 3 quest forms. With a stamp, she officially processes and accepts all 3 of Mr. Shu's requests. Shu takes the forms, noting the 2-day deadline and promising he'll get them all done. He thinks over his targets, starting with the alkinko and the crescenza. He asks Lapis if there's a place where he can see the materials he's unfamiliar with. Lapis looks on, slightly dazed by the whirlwind of enthusiasm that just hit her counter. A tiny cartoon version of her points the way to the guild's reference library. Shu sets off down a forest path, his first official adventure finally underway. He arrives in a peaceful clearing, noting the lack of monsters and preparing to investigate. A flashback shows Lapis, flustered, as Shu had immediately asked to see the library's references. The library book shows an illustration of crescenza honey, noting its many uses. Shu muses that he doesn't know how to gather the honey, but he's sure he'll figure it out. He recalls having gathered mint leaves before, so at least one task is familiar. His face lights up with anticipation for the new, undiscovered materials that await him. In the forest, he activates his survey skill, focusing his search on finding alkinko mushrooms. "There they are," he exclaims, his skill having instantly located a patch of his target. He remembers Lapis telling him that the eastern forest was a great spot to find them. Peeking from behind a tree, he prepares to clear his first objective. He spots a cluster of mushrooms, thinking to himself that they look rather ordinary. As he approaches, he notes that they look just like any other common mushroom. He wonders if it might be a different species as he reaches out a finger. Suddenly, the mushroom sprouts 2 spindly legs and Shu yelps in surprise. He shouts in disbelief as the mushroom scampers away from him into the woods. He then remembers the library's description, recalling that alkinko flee when they sense danger. Realizing he has to give chase, his foot stomps down, ready to pursue the creature. He starts to run but then stops, seeing the mushroom is moving incredibly slowly. He wonders if it's really okay for it to move that slowly after sprouting legs. To his amazement, other mushrooms are triggered and join the first, forming a slow-moving herd. He stares at the bizarre sight, completely captivated by the strange fungal migration. A warm, charmed smile spreads across his face as he watches them. He finds the scene utterly heartwarming, walking peacefully alongside a tiny waddling mushroom. One of the little creatures trips over a pebble, and Shu thinks it's adorable. He watches the entire colony marching in a line, joyfully calling it a mushroom parade. He snaps back to reality, telling himself this is no time to get lost in a fairy tale. He gently plucks one of the marching mushrooms from the ground, offering a quick apology. Holding the tiny captured alkinko in his palm, he celebrates his successful harvest. He continues to gather the mushrooms one by one, counting them as he goes. Finally, he reaches his quest objective of 30 mushrooms. He smiles, satisfied that the alkinko portion of his request is now complete. His attention then turns to his next target, the mysterious crescenza honey. He recalls that the library's information was limited, only describing its use as a seasoning. He smiles, excited by the challenge of discovering how the flower blooms, and sets off. He activates his survey skill once more, this time focusing on finding the crescenza. The scene shifts to the grand, castle-like exterior of the Adventurers Guild. Inside, Lapis's elven colleague Shulidi asked her about the interesting rookie from earlier. Lapis retorts that he wasn't interesting at all, clearly still flustered by the encounter. She complains about his overconfidence and how he even managed to break a guild plate. Shulidi's interest is piqued, and she asks Lapis to tell her more about the broken plate. Her expression turns serious as she reveals that she has heard of this happening before. Lapis looks at Shulidi, surprised by this revelation. She asks if this means someone else has broken a plate before, and Shulidi confirms it. She tells a story from decades ago of a powerful mage who served the royal court. Lapis whispers a question about Shulidi's age, earning a sharp glare from the long-lived elf. Shulidi continues, explaining that when the powerful mage tried to register their magic, the guild plate shattered instantly, just as it had for Shu. The mage had simply laughed, declaring the plate too weak to contain their immense power. Lapis wonders aloud if Shu could possibly possess the same power as that legendary mage. Shulidi calmly takes a bite of her pastry, stating that she believes it's possible. They both imagine Shu laughing off the comparison as impossible. Lapis argues that even with great power, completing quests is a different matter entirely. She brings up the Crescenza Honey quest, revealing it's known as the Newbie Crusher. Her eyes narrow as she explains that 80% of beginners fail this notoriously difficult quest. Shulidi sips her drink, amused, saying she's eager to see what he brings back. Lapis is startled from her thoughts by a cheerful "hello" from the guild entrance. A beaming Shu returns, announcing that he has successfully gathered all the requested materials. Lapis and Shulidi stare in utter disbelief, calling out his name in synchronized shock. Lapis expresses disbelief that he finished the quest accepted that very morning. She clenches her fists, insisting that's not the problem. It's just impossibly fast. She begins her inspection, starting with the pristine vial of collected honey. She reminds him that speed isn't everything. Quality must be properly verified. The Crescenza flower's nectar is notoriously delicate, held in a fragile pistil. The only proper method is a careful incision from below to extract it. A 5-star rating appears, signifying the highest possible quality for the honey. Lapis gasps in utter shock at the perfect result she sees. She confirms the alkinko and mint leaves were also gathered in perfect condition. Shu sighs in relief, glad his meticulous work met her high standards. He admits he was so nervous he almost told her not to jostle it. Lapis falls silent for a moment, processing the incredible results. She removes her glasses, a warm smile spreading across her face. She concludes that his passion for material gathering is truly genuine. Shu offers a polite farewell as he departs from the guild desk. He walks through the city, the rooftops stretching out under a cloudy sky. He happily reflects on receiving a higher reward than he had anticipated. He realizes that gathering materials in better condition increases his pay. He arrives back at the Cat's Tail Pavilion, his temporary home. He steps inside the bustling tavern, announcing his return for the evening. The common room is a hive of activity, loud and full of patrons. Shu looks around, noting how much more lively the inn becomes at night. Adventurers of all kinds are gathered, enjoying drinks and friendly conversation. The sheer volume of the boisterous crowd is a little overwhelming to him. He decides to eat quietly in his room, but someone calls his name. He turns around, surprised that Mina would call out to him. Mina suggests he celebrate his hard work by buying a round of drinks. Shu laughs, understanding her playful suggestion to spend his new earnings. Feeling good about his day, he agrees that one drink sounds nice. Mina beams with a wide, cheerful grin, happy that he agreed. She then beckons for him to follow her, much to his confusion. She glances back at him with a knowing and friendly smile. She tells him there is someone special she wants him to meet. She reiterates that there is someone she wants to introduce him to. He follows her, wondering who she could possibly mean. Mina simply says he'll understand when they get there. He cheekily wonders if it could be a fan of his gathering skills. His fantasy is abruptly shattered by the reality of the situation. Mina cheerfully announces that she has brought their guest. The large bear man turns, greeting him warmly as a new customer. Shu's mind screams in panic that it's a bear. Mina proudly introduces the formidable chef, Bandel, by name. Bandel extends a massive hand, offering a friendly welcome. Relieved, Shu thinks he seems like a good person after all. He politely returns the greeting, happy to make his acquaintance. Suddenly, the chef's friendly expression turns dark and menacing. He leans in, saying Shu came all this way to his inn. With a mighty shout, he commands Shu to eat the food. An incredible feast is laid out before him, stunning him completely. He asks what this magnificent spread of food is for. Bandel, now looking goofy, explains it's his way of welcoming him. Shu is deeply touched by the gesture, thinking he's an incredible person. As Shu bows in gratitude, Bandel admits that's just the official reason. A regular explains the chef learns guest tastes to prevent food waste. Shu is amazed by his dedication to his craft. Bandel proudly states that while he customizes menus, everything is delicious. Shu marvels at the luxurious food, so different from the village. The chef encourages him to try the city's rare and unusual ingredients. With hands clasped in gratitude, Shu eagerly prepares to eat. The first dish is a monstrous-looking fish called an eggereg. The chef notes that while its appearance is intimidating, its taste is exquisite. The chef reiterates that the fish's intimidating look belies its amazing flavor. Shu stares down at the intimidating dish, a bit hesitant to try it. Deciding it would be rude not to eat, he takes a hesitant bite. His eyes widen in surprise as he exclaims how delicious it is. He marvels that its appearance gives no hint of its fluffy texture. He praises the perfect spices in cooking, much to the chef's delight. Bandel enthusiastically presents the very next course for him to try. A massive, perfectly cooked steak is placed before him. Shu immediately thinks that this one looks obviously delicious. He asks if it's all right to have such a large steak. Bandel encourages him to eat up since it's his first time. He clasps his hands once more, preparing to enjoy the steak. He takes a huge, satisfying bite of the meat as Bandel cheers. He chews thoughtfully, contemplating the unique flavor of the meat. He notes the wild flavor, which pairs well with the berry sauce. He then asks the chef what kind of meat it is. Bandel smiles, about to reveal the meat's surprising origin. He casually reveals that it is, in fact, the meat of an orc. Shu's face freezes in a state of utter shock. He stammers, asking if he means the monster orc, which Bandel confirms. He explains that monster cuisine has become quite trendy recently. Bandel explains that with proper cooking, you can eat delicious monster meat. Shu reflects that the addictive flavor is similar to wild game. He praises the chef's skill for making it so delicious. Bandel laughs, pleased, and tells him to eat more. Stuffed and happy, Shu thanks him for the incredible meal. He offers to repay the chef for his kindness sometime in the future. Bandel's expression shifts, and he says that Shu has now said it. He demands repayment immediately, not later, shocking Shu once again. His demeanor changes again as he begs Shu with clasped hands. He asks if Shu will sell him any rare materials he finds. Shu is taken aback, confused by the sudden request for materials. The chef explains he wants to cook, but rare ingredients are too expensive. He recalls another adventurer offering him some rare herbs they found. The adventurers happily agree to show him their finds later. Shu realizes this is how the chef sources his rare ingredients. Bandel explains that he cooks a dish for them using the materials. He asks Shu if it doesn't sound like a bad deal. Shu enthusiastically accepts the offer, sealing the deal with a handshake. Shu holds the document, wondering aloud who specifically requested him for a job. Lapis explains that it's unheard of for an F-rank adventurer to be chosen directly. She winks, adding that it's a huge boost for his rank assessment. The opportunity felt like a golden ticket to a new level of his career. His eyes sparkle as he realizes this is an offer he simply cannot refuse. Lapis's voice encourages him to at least go and hear what the client has to say. He arrives at a white picket fence, wondering if this is the right address. He rereads the name on the request form, a certain Mr. Klaus. Walking through the woods, he feels a bit uneasy about the vague instructions. Suddenly, the path opens up and he looks ahead in surprise. A beautiful, picturesque house stands before him, nestled in a lush garden. A charming, hand-painted sign hangs from a nearby tree, catching his eye. He is completely captivated, thinking the scene is like something from a storybook. The sign reads Medikisi, and he realizes the client must be a pharmacist. He notices a wonderful fragrance and spots various medicinal herbs growing in the garden. A small plaque identifies a patch of chamomile, confirming his suspicions. He clenches his fist, silently vowing to return for the chamomile someday. His attention is drawn to a large greenhouse attached to the main building. Peeking inside, he sees rows upon rows of carefully cultivated medicinal herbs. Overcome with excitement, he wishes he could appraise and gather them all. A calm voice asks what he is doing, startling him from his reverie. Flustered, Shu quickly apologizes and asks if the man is Mr. Klaus. The man eyes him suspiciously, questioning Shu's "nice to meet you" greeting. He asks if Shu doesn't remember him, prompting a deep apologetic bow. Shu admits the man seems familiar, but he can't quite place the face. The man stares at him with an unreadable, slightly annoyed expression. With a sigh, he pushes his glasses up the bridge of his nose. The gesture jogs Shu's memory, and he exclaims that it's the pharmacist from the bathhouse. The pharmacist Klaus turns away, muttering about Shu's rudeness for forgetting him. Shu gushes, praising the medicinal bath and expressing his honor at the request. Klaus can't help but crack a small, pleased smile at the earnest compliment. He quickly clears his throat, regaining his professional composure. He invites Shu inside to discuss the request, and Shu eagerly agrees. As they enter, Klaus warns that his workshop is a bit of a mess. Inside, bundles of herbs hang from the ceiling. Klaus tells him not to touch anything. Shu takes in the complex, fragrant aroma that fills the entire room. He finds the scent to be strangely comforting and very familiar. He realizes it smells like his grandmother's house, much to Klaus's confusion. Klaus tells him to wait in the study for a moment while he prepares. Shu finds himself in an elegant room filled with books and specimen cabinets. His eyes sparkle with a collector's delight as he takes in the surroundings. He sees shelves filled with rare materials he's never seen, wanting to appraise them all. He restrains himself, deciding not to spoil the fun of finding them himself. Klaus returns, asking if Shu's intense focus means he's interested in pharmacology. Shu enthusiastically denies it, claiming he just gets excited looking at materials. Klaus remarks on how strange he is, having heard rumors of such an adventurer. He offers Shu a cup of tea to begin their discussion. Shu is delighted by the kind gesture. Klaus explains that it is his own special blend, designed to relieve fatigue. Shu thanks him warmly and takes a large, eager sip. His face immediately scrunches up in shock from the intense bitterness. Klaus calmly explains that of course it's bitter, as it's medicinal tea. Taking a sip himself, Klaus has to admit that it is indeed quite bitter. A brilliant idea suddenly strikes Shu. He asks for permission to add something to the tea, and Klaus agrees. Shu presents a small, elegant vial of golden crescenza honey. Klaus is impressed, noting that it's a high-quality item to be carrying. He looks at the honey with the serious, appraising gaze of an expert. Shu adds a single drop to his cup as they sit across from each other. He then brightly offers to add some to Klaus's cup as well. A slight blush appears on Klaus's cheeks as he considers the offer. He agrees to test it, feeling he's starting to understand the strange young man. They both take a sip of the newly sweetened tea. Shu is delighted by the pleasant taste. He remarks that the bitterness is gone, and Klaus agrees it's a good way to drink it. Shu jokingly suggests he recommend it to his customers. Klaus clears his throat, slightly embarrassed by the pleasant exchange. He sets his cup down, declaring it is time to discuss the main topic. He shows Shu a book, explaining the first item is a plant called Yamadoro. Shu assumes he just needs to dig up the root, but Klaus says that's the challenge. A diagram illustrates the root's fragility and complex, easily broken shape. Shu realizes this isn't a simple task. He can't just dig it up carelessly. He listens intently as Klaus continues with his detailed explanation. Klaus stresses that even after unearthing it, the fine root hairs must be intact. Shu understands this requires precision, not just the ability to find the item. A small flame of excitement ignites within him at the thought of the challenge. The second item is a kikyo flower, specifically a rare 3-petaled variant. Shu's aura now burns with passion as Klaus explains the common version is useless. The final item is the fruit of the kururu tree, which reacts to magic. Klaus needs it gathered while perfectly saturated with as much magic as possible. However, he warns that infusing too much magical energy will cause it to rupture. Surrounded by flames of excitement, Shu learns that the balance must be perfect. Klaus taps the table for emphasis, his gaze serious. He states firmly that he will not pay for any materials that fail to meet his standards. He then asks Shu for his decision. He gives Shu the option to refuse if the task seems too daunting. With eyes literally blazing, Shu enthusiastically begs to be allowed to take the quest. Klaus is completely taken aback by Shu's intense, fiery reaction. A small smile forms on his face as he once again calls Shu a strange one. The quest is set: 3 Yamadoro, 7 Kikyo flowers, and 10 Kururu fruits. As Shu leaves, Klaus reminds him not to forget the strict conditions. Shu pauses at the door, asking if Klaus happens to have any samples. Annoyed, Klaus retorts that he wouldn't be making the request if he did. Shu gives a cheerful salute, confirming the 7-day deadline. Klaus watches him go, telling him to get on with it. He turns back inside, noticing that Shu has already vanished from sight. A sudden, panicked expression crosses his face. He realizes he completely forgot to tell Shu where to find the materials. He sighs, thinking that Shu truly seems to have nothing on his mind but materials. Meanwhile, Shu is already on the path, happily sketching the Yamadoro in his notebook. Shu was filled with anticipation for his quest, a warm smile on his face. The stars twinkled above the quiet rooftops of the Cat's Tail Pavilion. Dawn broke, casting the inn in the soft, gentle light of a new day. He spotted Mina sweeping and cheerfully wished her a good morning. Mina turned around, her expression one of pure surprise to see him. She was shocked he was up so early, but he just beamed at her. She waved him off with a friendly warning to be careful on his journey. He walked through the hills, thinking about Klaus's important request. A map showed all 3 materials could be found in the eastern forest. He decided to begin his search with the most common item, the Kikyo flower. He studied his notes, deciding to start by finding the 3-petaled variant. The task felt nostalgic, like searching for a lucky 4-leaf clover. He skipped down the path, thinking this was going to be a fun challenge. All right, he thought, steeling himself to begin the day's hunt. He stood at the forest edge, unable to use survey without a sample. He recalled God's words, confident that divine knowledge would guide him. With a surge of confidence, he tried to use survey on the Kikyo. He let out a sigh of disappointment when his initial scan failed to work. He decided to try a different approach, using a general survey instead. His eyes widened in pure joy as the entire forest lit up with signals. He marveled at the sight of materials and shapes he had never seen before. He noticed that there were even a few rare materials scattered about. He slapped his cheeks, reminding himself that the quest must come first. He decided to start by finding a common 4-petaled Kikyo flower first. To his relief, he found a large patch of them almost immediately. His notes confirmed the 3-petaled variant was far more valuable. He realized the rare version was the true prize, making the hunt exciting. All right, this time for sure, he whispered, focusing his intent again. He cast his survey skill on the Kikyo flowers once more. He was completely bewildered by the sheer number of signals that appeared. Before him lay a massive field filled with countless blooming Kikyo flowers. He sighed, realizing that sifting through all of them would be a pain. But then he noticed some of the glowing lights were a different color. He remembered God's advice: the light's color changes with the item's rarity. He wondered if this could possibly be the solution he was looking for. His face lit up with a jolt of sudden, brilliant realization. He found a perfect 3-petaled Kikyo, confirming his theory was correct. He crouched down, realizing his skill color-coded items based on their rarity. An internal debate began. Should he use this easy method or hunt properly? The devil on his shoulder tempted him to finish the quest easily. He spent the rest of the day searching the old-fashioned way. He carefully examined each flower, his focus completely unwavering. The sun began to set as his tireless search continued into the evening. Just as dusk fell over the forest, his eyes landed on his prize. A cry of pure, unadulterated joy escaped his lips as he found it. He happily announced that he had finally found the 7th flower. He collapsed in exhaustion, his back aching and his stomach growling. As night fell, he reflected on just how difficult the search had been. He felt a deep fatigue, but also the true, satisfying joy of gathering. A peaceful smile spread across his face as he lay there, completely content. He thought his survey skill was the best, imagining God's proud approval. The next morning, Shu was still sound asleep in his bed at the inn. He groaned, wrestling with the covers, his body still sore from yesterday. He sat bolt upright, energized by the thought that new materials awaited him. While getting ready, he remembered that he would need a shovel for today. He paused in his packing, picking up a small book from his desk. A smile crossed his face as he remembered his promise to Chef Bandel. He found the bear man in the kitchen, who greeted him with a warm, "Yo!" Bandel thanked him and offered him the special dish he had promised to make. Shu looked completely exhausted, apologizing for his haggard appearance. Seeing his state, the kindly chef suddenly had a wonderful idea. He told Shu to wait for just a moment as he turned to the counter. He presented a beautifully wrapped bento box, a gift for Shu's lunch. Overwhelmed by the gesture, Shu burst into grateful, happy tears. He thanked Bandel profusely, promising that this would help him do his best. He happily tucked the bento away, feeling re-energized by the chef's kindness. He carefully placed the precious lunch into his magic bag for safekeeping. With Bandel's bento, he felt 100 times stronger, ready for the day. "I'm off," he called out cheerfully as he departed the inn once more. He smiled, ready for whatever adventures the new day would bring him. He arrived at a serene lake, noting the excellent quality of the water. A pair of deer drank peacefully, a sign of a healthy ecosystem. The lake was beautiful, reflecting the sky and a distant, majestic mountain. He knew the Yamadoro plant preferred the water side and began his search. First things first, he thought, preparing to use his survey skill. He shielded his eyes from the sun as he scanned the lakeside area. He quickly spotted his target, a patch of distinctive heart-shaped leaves. The heart-shaped leaves grew in a large, healthy-looking cluster. "Ah!" he exclaimed, happy to have found the location so quickly. He declared that now he just had to dig up the precious root below. He plunged his shovel into the earth, beginning the back-breaking work. The ground was tough and rocky, and he struggled with the digging. He grunted, realizing that today's quest was a true test of stamina. He took off his jacket, setting it aside with his bag. Wiping the sweat from his brow, he prepared to continue his hard work. He dug a large hole but was frustrated that the root was still hidden. He wondered if he needed to dig even deeper to find his prize. His shovel hit something hard, and he knew he had made a terrible mistake. "I did it now," he cried out in dismay as he heard the root snap. He wished he had some magic that would allow him to see underground. A brilliant idea suddenly struck him: clairvoyance. He recalled how his survey skill could show him the shapes of materials. He wondered if he could use it to map the root system itself. He decided it was worth a shot and closed his eyes to concentrate. The surface of the calm lake shimmered under the bright sun. A ripple spread out, symbolizing the wave of his magical energy. "Yamadoro, a survey!" he commanded, unleashing his focus power. He let out a gasp of pure astonishment at what he saw in his mind. A perfect, glowing image of the root system appeared before his inner eye. He called his skill his master and prepared to dig with careful precision. He thinks that if all goes well, he can finish the request soon. He glances across the serene lakeside landscape, planning his next move. He remembers Bandel's words, knowing a feast after hard work is special. He confidently casts a water ball spell, creating a sphere of water. With a sigh of relief, he notes his improving control over his magic. His survey skill helped him gather plenty of Yamadoro, but digging is messy. Now that he is all cleaned up, it is finally time for lunch. His eyes widen in delight as he opens the bento box. He sees a thick, fluffy quiche packed with the alkinko mushrooms he gathered. Inhaling the aroma of cheese and mushroom, he thanks Bandel for the meal. He takes his first bite, his expression one of pure culinary bliss. He marvels at the incredible aroma and rich umami flavor of the mushrooms. He wolfs down the quiche, declaring Bandel a genius for the flavor combination. He quickly finishes the entire delicious meal. With a clatter of his utensils, he declares the meal was delicious. Lying back contentedly, he feels completely full and happy after the meal. He relaxes by the water's edge, enjoying the peaceful afternoon breeze. He startles himself awake, realizing he had almost dozed off completely. He remembers there is still one more material left on Klaus's request list. He pumps his fist, determined to find the final item before the day ends. He follows a path that leads into the deeper, darker part of the forest. He notes the dim light, a perfect environment for monsters to appear. He recalls Klaus's instructions about where the elusive Karuru fruit grows. He feels confident, knowing his unique skill will protect him from monsters. He activates his survey skill, focusing specifically on magic stones. The forest lights up with countless sparkling signals, revealing a horde of monsters. Seeing so many monsters, he worries that complete avoidance will be difficult. He spots the signal of a fast-moving, agile creature. Another signal indicates a large and ferocious-looking beast. His eyes then land on a slow-moving, caterpillar-like signal. He decides the slow caterpillar is the easiest to avoid among the threats. His gamer brain warns him to be wary of poison from insect-type monsters. He carefully sneaks through the undergrowth, wary of being spotted. He finally comes face to face with the creature he was tracking. The Kayapi Bill monster is busy munching contentedly on a giant leaf. He shudders, admitting to himself that he really dislikes bugs. He notices the monster is too busy eating to have spotted him. He thinks this is his chance to sneak by undetected. His foot lands on a dry twig, which snaps loudly under his boot. He yelps in panic as the alerted monster spits a stream of silk at him. He quickly ducks behind the safety of a large tree trunk. He realizes the monster is too slow to chase him and will give up. He sighs in relief as the monster turns away, just as he predicted. He eyes the valuable shimmering silk thread, tempted by the potential prize. He decides his life is more important and makes a run for it. After running a safe distance, he stops to catch his breath. Wiping his brow, he feels that this new area is finally safe from monsters. He decides to use his survey skill once more, just to be certain. He gulps as the area lights up with the glow of countless rare materials. He finds it difficult to identify his target among so many similar-looking fruits. He tries to recall the illustration of the kururu fruit from Klaus's book. He decides to test his own eye rather than rely solely on his skill. He dismisses one fruit for being too round and the wrong shade of color. Another is close, but he notices the leaves are the wrong shape. His eyes widen as he finally spots a plant that seems to be a perfect match. His appraisal skill confirms its identity and details its magical properties. He triumphantly confirms that he has found the correct kururu fruit. He thinks about buying an encyclopedia to make gathering even more enjoyable. Now for the real challenge, infusing the fruit with magic without it exploding. He feels confident in his improved control, certain he won't repeat past mistakes. The fruit instantly explodes, splattering sticky juice all over his face. He is shocked at how delicate the fruit is, despite his careful control. He realizes Klaus's quest is a true test, then licks the juice and finds it tasty. His resolve hardened. He vows to gather the highest quality fruit possible. He spends the rest of the day practicing his delicate magical infusion. Two small, fox-like creatures in the bushes seem to cheer him on. Panting with exertion, he wonders if his latest attempt was finally successful. He shouts in pure triumph as he sees a perfectly infused, glowing fruit. Holding up his final prize, he feels confident Klaus will be satisfied. He realizes the fruit's magic will fade, and he must store it quickly. As he prepares to store the fruit, he notices something peculiar. He lays out his haul and sees the first few fruits are smaller than the rest. He worries Klaus will complain about the inconsistent sizes of the fruits. Deciding to worry later, he starts his journey back to town as dusk falls. He feels he has gained a much better grasp on controlling his magic. He walks through the woods thinking of how magic will improve his work. He believes his newfound control will make him a much more efficient gatherer. As night falls, he finally arrives back at Klaus's elegant home. He worries that arriving so late might be an inconvenience for Klaus. He notices a warm light glowing from the attached greenhouse. His curiosity piqued, he decides to investigate the light. He wonders if the pharmacist is inside the greenhouse at this late hour. A voice calls his name from among the lush plants of the greenhouse. Klaus asks if he has come so late to ask about the request. Shu smiles brightly, announcing that he has successfully gathered all the materials. He explains that he has come to make his final delivery. Klaus stares at him in utter disbelief, his jaw agape. He grabs Shu, demanding to know how he finished a week-long quest so quickly. Klaus collects himself, pushing his glasses up his nose with a sharp gesture. Still skeptical, the pharmacist demands to see the collected materials. In his study, Klaus says he will inspect the delicate kururu fruits first. He wants to process them before their magic dissipates, but Shu remembers something. Shu cheerfully reassures him that the magic bag prevents any degradation. Klaus stops, his eyes narrowing as he realizes what Shu just revealed. He sternly warns Shu not to show off such a rare item so carelessly. He bluntly tells Shu that if he were a less trustworthy man, Shu would be dead. Shu finally understands the immense value and danger his bag represents. He recalls Botan's similar shock, realizing how lucky he was in the small village. Bowing deeply, Shu expresses his gratitude, and Klaus accepts it with a sigh. Klaus decides to inspect the other, less volatile materials first. Klaus decides to inspect the less complicated materials first, the Kikyo and Yamadoro. He examines the specimens with a thoughtful, intensely focused expression. The Kikyo has 3 petals, and the Yamadoro root is perfectly preserved. Shu is immensely relieved to hear that the materials have passed inspection. Klaus compliments his skill for a first attempt, and Shu offers his thanks. Now he turns his attention to the most challenging item, the kururu fruit. Klaus's professional calm shatters as he gasps at the fruit's enormous size. He has never seen one so large, wondering how much magic was used. He realizes that much magic should have caused it to rupture instantly. Shu raises a hand, sheepishly preparing to explain something to the pharmacist. He admits that the first few fruits he gathered are actually much smaller. Presenting the whole batch, he apologizes for the variation in their sizes. He worries that the inconsistent quality makes them unsuitable as products. Klaus looks at him and remarks that Shu is far too good a person. He refuses to let Shu simply give away the materials for no reward. Shu looks on as Klaus tells him he has far surpassed his expectations. He advises Shu to have confidence, or he will be taken advantage of. Shu listens intently as Klaus pauses before continuing. With a flustered expression, Klaus admits the fruit's value has skyrocketed. He confesses he cannot afford them all. 6 is his absolute limit. Shu smiles brightly, saying that's fine since he meant to give them anyway. Klaus gets angry, scolding Shu for being too willing to be exploited. The pharmacist's lingering frustration is shown in a small, tense panel. The final deal is set: 7 Kikyo, 3 Yamadoro, and 6 Kururu. Klaus hands over a heavy pouch of coins, much to Shu's astonishment. He says the payment is a fair price, befitting the quality of the work. Shu, overwhelmed by his integrity, offers a heartfelt and grateful thank you. Klaus ends their business, needing to preserve the delicate materials quickly. He then remembers one final piece of advice he wanted to give. He suggests selling leftover materials to an alchemist for a better price. He tells Shu to keep it in mind as another option for his wares. Shu looks slightly confused but takes the pharmacist's advice to heart. The word alchemist echoes in his mind, sparking a new idea. That night, under a crescent moon, he thinks about these mysterious alchemists. Leaning on his inn's balcony, he wonders what they are like in this city. He recalls them from games, using materials to create powerful potions. His curiosity is piqued about the alchemists who operate in Grantal. His search leads him to a bustling shop on a crowded city street. Inside, adventurers complain that the potions have become very expensive. The shopkeeper says it's a necessary expense for those who risk their lives. The portly man thinks of himself as Mons, an alchemist of Grantal. He spends his days selling his wares to the local adventurers. Privately, he believes that adventurers are, quite frankly, a bunch of idiots. They buy his sometimes shoddy potions without a single question. He knows the only other alchemist in town is a recluse. This means adventurers have no choice but to buy his overpriced potions. As Shu enters, Mons thinks that another easy mark has just arrived. Shu cheerfully asks the shopkeeper why his prices are so high. He also notes that he doesn't see any particularly effective potions. Mons claims it is because skilled material gatherers have become scarce. Shu then offers to sell him some high-quality materials he has on hand. Mons condescendingly asks to see his guild registration first. Shu calmly presents his rectangular guild plate. Seeing it's only F rank, Mons scoffs, assuming Shu is a fraud. Oblivious, Shu asks if he can now show him the materials. Mons puts on his spectacles, ready to inspect the young man's wares. He is utterly shocked by the pristine, perfect quality of the Yamadoro root. He realizes he can make a fortune and becomes determined to acquire it. Shu waits with a happy and expectant smile, awaiting the appraisal. Mons begins his attempt to swindle the young adventurer. He lies, claiming the root has degraded since it was harvested. He explains that its value plummets with each passing day. He offers a paltry 5 bronze coins, pretending it's a generous favor. Shu's face darkens as he asks if that price is truly acceptable. He gives a low hum, his expression showing he sees the deception. He calmly states that this is a shop that sells lies. He points out the poor quality of the potions lining the shelves. Mons is shocked and begins sweating, his greedy scheme exposed. Shu declares that he, the gatherer, knows the material's true quality best. He turns to leave, stating he will never return to this shop. Mons is left stunned into silence, his face a mask of defeat. Shu walks away from the dishonest alchemist, his business unfinished. On the street, he regrets his outburst and wonders what to do now. He recalls Klaus's advice to have confidence in his own work. He finds it hard to believe Klaus would recommend such a crooked shop. He stops, trying to remember something else he was told. He recalls another conversation he had concerning an alchemist. Mina had mentioned a reclusive alchemist on the west side of town. He knows it might be a wasted trip, but decides to go anyway. He arrives in a quiet rural area where the houses are sparse. He wonders if an alchemist truly lives here, then spots a young girl. He approaches her cheerfully to ask about the alchemist's shop. The girl turns around, surprised by his sudden question. She asks if he has business with the alchemist. Shu is immediately struck by how incredibly cute she is. He introduces himself as an adventurer who is skilled at gathering. He continues, explaining that he specializes in collecting materials. He asks if she would please take a look at his wares. Getting carried away, he asks her to let him come to her home. The girl laughs, introducing herself as Lumia, an apprentice alchemist. Shu is embarrassed, realizing his bold and mistaken assumption. Lumia explains he was lucky, as her master is a recluse. Shu is relieved, admitting he was just about to give up his search. He asks how much further away the shop is from their location. Lumia calmly informs him that they have already arrived. A magnificent building appears, which she introduces as Safi's shop. Shu is completely bewildered, wondering when the building appeared. He asks Lumia why he couldn't see the shop until just now. He realizes her master must have used magic to conceal the shop. Lumia apologizes for her master's eccentricities and invites him inside. Lumia frantically tidies up, a flustered look on her face. Shu arrives, noting the shop seems a bit disorganized. Lumia rushes past him, calling her master an idiot under her breath. Shu glances at the shelves, seeing they're a little dusty. He notices the potions are of a much higher quality than the last shop. With a sigh of relief, he feels that he has come to the right place. Lumia offers him a seat, saying she will go call her master. She returns with tea and cookies, much to Shu's surprise. Lumia happily explains she made the cookies herself as a hobby. She compares perfecting recipes to alchemy, which Shu finds amusing. As she leaves, Shu nibbles a cookie, finding it absolutely delicious. He sips his tea, thinking Safi must be a good person. 1 minute later, he has happily finished his treat. After 5 minutes, he begins to look around the room, waiting patiently. 20 minutes pass and he slumps in his chair, bored and tired. He is suddenly jolted awake as Lumia calls his name. She apologizes, explaining her master has caught a cold. Shu understands this is just an excuse to avoid meeting him. He gets up to leave, saying the tea and cookies were more than enough. Lumia asks him to wait, offering to appraise his materials herself. Shu hesitates for a moment, looking at the young apprentice. She insists, telling him not to worry about her being an apprentice. She explains that since he came all this way, and moreover, she is personally very curious to see his materials. Her earnest plea wins him over, and he agrees. Lumia is thrilled. She formally asks to see the materials he has brought. Shu smiles, saying anyone who makes such good cookies must be skilled. He tells her he trusts her abilities, and she thanks him gratefully. Outside the grand building, Lumia prepares for the appraisal. She asks Shu what kind of materials he has brought for her to see. He presents her with a single, heavy bag filled with his finds. Later, Shu leaves the shop, pleased with the generous price she paid. He feels happy that his materials were so highly valued by her. He hopes that next time, he will finally get to meet the master. Inside, Lumia informs her master that the customer has left. She protests, worried her master will waste the new materials on practice. Safi calmly tells her apprentice not to get so angry. She mentions that a batch of good luminous moss arrived from the guild. She says she doesn't mind, as materials from adventurers are usually subpar. Lumia, with a pout, asks if her master is truly sure about that. Safi is shocked to hear Lumia paid 11 gold coins for the Karuru fruits. She grabs her apprentice, yelling that the market rate is only 5 gold. Lumia remains calm, simply telling her master to look at the items. Safi and Lumia stare in wide-eyed shock at the presented materials. Lumia gushes that she's never seen such huge fruits. Safi is speechless. She explains the Yamadoro root was also perfect, a sign of a true professional. Safi, her demeanor now serious, asks for the adventurer's name. Lumia is surprised by her master's sudden, intense interest. She informs her that the skilled adventurer's name is Shu. Safi recalls a guild report for luminous moss from an F rank named Shu. She repeats the name to herself, her eyes narrowed in thought. Shu walks home, happily wondering what he should have for dinner. In a tavern, adventurers complain that direct requests are taking all the work. One man cheerfully brings up the very topic of direct requests. His friend gossips about a skilled adventurer completing quests in record time. The first man grumbles, blaming this person for his recent bad luck. Shu overhears, wondering what kind of amazing high ranker they mean. At the guild, Lapis congratulates Shu on his promotion to E rank. He feels it was a long road, but Lapis notes it's not so simple. She explains that ranking up in only 1 month is an incredible feat. Usually, she says, it takes at least half a year, or even longer. Shu realizes his work for Klaus must have greatly boosted his reputation. Lapis smiles, asking if he would be willing to take on one more request. He is surprised by her serious tone and the gravity of her expression. She explains it is from one of only 4 masterclass alchemists. The request, she says, is from that very person, which is a great honor. She whispers that the guild can't afford to anger such a client. Shu agrees to at least hear the request in person. He finds himself back at the shop, surprised to return so soon. Lumia greets him at the door with a bright, welcoming smile. He stands before the elegant, magically concealed building once more. Lumia thanks him for coming, saying her master is waiting inside. He is finally introduced to the master alchemist, Safi Fulsathanes. Safi coolly announces that she is the one who requested him. Shu is taken aback, stammering a polite, "Nice to meet you." He bows deeply, but Safi tells him to sit, as she hates formalities. With a serious gaze, she says there is something she must ask him. She asks if he recalls delivering luminous moss to the guild recently. Shu is taken by surprise at her very specific question. Safi nods in understanding as Lumia arrives with tea and sweets. She tells him she will now explain the details of the request. She looks at him intently, a slight smile on her lips. She formally asks him to look after her apprentice, Lumia. Lumia is stunned and flustered by her master's strange words. Safi watches their reactions, a knowing look on her face. Lumia can only manage to weakly call out her master's name. Shu is completely baffled by the unbelievable request. He suddenly stands, passionately vowing to make Lumia happy. Safi holds her head in her hands, telling him to wait. Lumia protests, telling her master to stop and Shu not to agree. Safi laughs it off as a joke, amused by Shu's earnest reaction. Shu quietly mutters that he would have been fine if it wasn't a joke. Lumia pleads with her master to stop her ridiculous jokes. Safi calmly tells her apprentice not to get so angry. Shu and Lumia listen, still confused by what is happening. Safi explains she wants him to gather 4 simple, low-rank materials. Shu asks if that is all, but Safi says there is one condition. The condition is that he must take Lumia along with him. Both Shu and Lumia are shocked into silence by the strange request. Their synchronized shouts of disbelief echo from the alchemy shop. Shu is stunned by the proposal to gather materials alongside the apprentice, Lumia. The master alchemist, Safi, watches them with sharp, calculating eyes from across the room. Utterly bewildered by the strange request, Shu asks what exactly she means by it. With a graceful gesture, Safi begins her explanation about the National Alchemist exam. The exam involves written tests, compounding, and a practical field test for gathering materials. Safi explains that Lumia, while knowledgeable, lacks crucial real-world gathering experience. And so Safi formally asks Shu to act as Lumia's field guide for the test. Shu protests, questioning why Safi, a masterclass alchemist, wouldn't teach her herself. Safi admits she isn't very active, preferring to gain knowledge from within her room. Before Shu can argue further, Lumia's voice cuts through his protest. Lumia explains that seeing his perfectly gathered materials was a moment of profound inspiration. She passionately pleads with him to let her witness his gathering process firsthand. Moved by her earnest plea, Shu finds himself at a loss for words. Safi coolly seals the deal, promising a generous reward for his cooperation. Shu takes a quiet moment to consider the unusual but heartfelt request. Upon hearing his agreement, Lumia's face breaks into a radiant, joyful smile. Shu smiles and tells Lumia they should do their best together, which she happily accepts. However, a new and practical concern suddenly dawns on Shu as he turns back. He voices his worry that as a low-rank adventurer, he can't guarantee her safety. Lumia steps forward confidently, reassuring him that everything will be perfectly fine. She proudly lists her skills in swordsmanship and archery, promising not to be a burden. Shu is shocked, realizing that the gentle apprentice might actually be stronger than him. Safi adds that the requested materials are in safe areas, so danger is unlikely. She praises Shu's skill in avoiding unnecessary combat, a valuable trait for an adventurer. With a sly smile, Safi instructs them to begin their expedition the next morning. Lumia expresses her excitement, and both she and Shu agree to the terms. That evening, preparations for the journey begin under the fading light. In his room, Shu carefully packs supplies, including extra potions for his new partner. He reflects on his past, realizing this is the first time he's ever worked in a party. The prospect of forming his first party fills him with a strange sense of excitement. He remembers his old gaming days, teaming up with others to hunt for materials. The memory of shared accomplishment brings a contented smile to his face. He quickly shakes off the nostalgia, reminding himself to stay focused on the mission. He resolves to take the task seriously, knowing Safi has placed her trust in him. The next morning, a fully equipped Lumia greets him with a bright, cheerful smile. Shu returns the greeting, slightly taken aback by her transformation into a warrior. He comments on her different aura, but she thinks her gear is quite standard. Lumia notes that he is dressed as usual, causing him to become flustered. He clears his throat, preparing to defend his unorthodox choice of attire. He proudly declares that comfortable clothes are his policy for gathering, impressing Lumia. Still, he can't help but feel that he looks much weaker standing next to her. Pushing aside his insecurities, he clenches his fist with renewed determination. Shu points the way, and together they set off towards the eastern forest.